This is going to be your ultimate beginner's guide to Cisco's Medieval RPG Ultimate. So, let's get started. When you first go into the game, it's actually going to give you a series of options before you even get into the overworld. So the first thing you're going to have to change is your origin. Now, one thing I will say is don't worry if you pick the wrong one. You will be able to change this later on in the game, but also as soon as you get into the game if you wish. So what you see here is impact, none. Human, that is the ordinary Minecraft experience, although I wouldn't recommend it. You could, for example, go for wild cat. And this gives you bonuses, but also curses, I guess you could say, to your playstyle. Feline grace, you always land safely on your paws, so it reduces fall damage. Feared hunter, creepers will turn and run away at the sight of you. Soft paws, however, which is still a good thing. Your steps can't be detected, so mobs won't hear you. Climbing, you're able to climb up any kind of wall, not just ladders. Nocturnal eyes, when in dark places, you get night vision. But your diet is restricted to meat and you can't eat vegetables. Being a land-based hunter, you exhaust more quickly in water. So there's a few downsides to being a wild cat, for example. One thing that a lot of people do like is Bird of Paradise early game. With your flexible wings, you can fly using a combination of flapping and gliding. Angelic Grace, your mastery of flight protects you from crashing into the land. You deal substantially more damage while in elytra flight. You're a little bit quicker on foot than others. So exploring early game, Bird of Paradise is fantastic. And it's probably the one I would recommend. And again, don't forget you can change this once we're in the game or later on. It does make you incapable of swimming, however, but really, how often are you doing that in Minecraft? You are blessed by the winds of paradise and are immune to slowness. Another one I would recommend going for is going to be Demigod Lux. If you do want to follow my ultimate melee crit build, that's the best build in the game, I'll leave a link to that in the description. Then Demigod Lux is the one you want to go for. And this is also going to make your life easier early game and late game, but in a different way than Birds of Paradise does. And that's because it gives you a lot of damage. You do 40% more damage. Your natural strength makes you prideful, and therefore you take 20% increased damage. However, you take 10% less damage when exposed to the sky, and you can only eat golden apples, carrots, and things like that. So, bit of an annoyance early game there. So you may want to go with Birds of Paradise, and once you've got loads of gold for golden carrots and apples and stuff, you could then swap over to Demigod Lux to get all that extra damage, etc. The only other thing is you're immune to darkness and wither effects, and you also get increased base health. I personally would go for one of the two I've just mentioned, Bird of Paradise or Demigod Lux. When you then select it, you then choose your blessing. So you can go for 9, no blessing, which obviously doesn't do anything. I would probably go for Ares Blessing. Blesses your strikes, granting you 10% increased crit chance. And upon slaying the Ender Dragon, you get a lot more damage. This is going to be really good. It has a very low impact. There's no real downsides to this. It just means as the game goes on, you get stronger. But have a look through, read them, and make sure that you're happy with whatever you take. Then lastly, we have our class. Farmers get double the crops and have better time bone mealing. Honestly, that's not really that great of a benefit, so I would ignore it. Same with ranchers, I would ignore. Mining could be easy or good early game. Maybe not, though. Lumberjack, don't get tricked by that one. It's not that good. Cook is quite good early game, but really what I would recommend is just going for warrior. Able to use each weapon to its fullest potential, you deal more damage than everyone else, but are slowed down less when protecting yourself with a shield. And I made that sound like it's a negative, it's not. You are slowed down less when using a shield. So warrior is really, really good. And that is, again, what I would recommend. Now we're into the game. Once you get into the game, the first thing you want to do is go into your inventory, go to quests, and don't worry, I'm going to explain some of these quests, but first I just want to show you something. On the left-hand side, we have the tutorial chapter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chapters. Each one of them, you just click the tick box and it gives you a wisdom scroll. Every single one of them in this chapter gives you this, okay? Then, once you've done all of those 7, go down to the Champions Trials. That's the next one down. And on the left here, we have another tick box. Take the XP and the wisdom scroll. And then the adventure begins. This is going to give you some wooden gear, which gives you some arrow blocking, explosion resistance, which is really, really useful, and also a wooden sword. It will also give you an Orb of Origin, which will allow you to actually reset your origin. You know, you just picked them. Well, you get to reset it if you don't like the one that you have gotten. And that is how you do that. You're also going to get some ratatouille and bacon and eggs, baby! You'll notice here that this gives 3.41 food diversity. The higher your food diversity, the more buffs you're going to get. Now, the default keybind for food diversity is the full stop, or period, or whatever you people call it. You people. And that brings up this book here, Current Food Diversity. And what we can see is that when you get to 2, you get speed 1. So all the way up to 100 where you get luck 2, and all of these other buffs. So the food they give you in that quest gives you 3.41 food diversity. So the more food diversity you have, the higher buffs you're going to get. So you want to eat a range of food in this mod. Speaking of that, well, this is obviously the spawn point. And what is going on there? This is the spawn point. The mobs around the spawn point will be the weakest mobs you will find. The further from spawn you go, the stronger they will get. But how do we get stronger? Well, press O for octopus, octagon, and something else beginning of O. That's going to bring up your skills. Now, it's a big old skill tree. Don't let it overwhelm you. Look in the description after you've watched this video, and there's actually a complete melee build, which is the best build in the game, and I've done a full guide on that, and it takes you from the start to the end of the game. So how do these work? Well, you know all those wisdom scrolls I just told you to get? Use them, and that gives you skill points. Hence why it's so good to go through those quests I showed you and just tick them off. Now, as a beginner, where do you want to start on here? That's a good question. Cook gives you 20% saturation. Enchanter means you don't have as much level requirement. Hunter, you get double the loot. Could be really good to start off with. Alchemist, you get more duration potions. Or Miner. I would go with Miner. It's the way that I would go in the build I'm going to be showing you in the melee crit build if you watch that video anyway. And it gives you block break speed if you've got a pickaxe in hand. We can then go up where if we have gems in our armor, we get a better effect from them, or we can go down and get some armor, or here we can get better effect as well. But basically, that's how the skill tree works. You can come out to these purple ones, which give you a bit more of a boost. So like this is 10% effect power from your gem, whereas the purple one is a lot more powerful. And then there's more yellow ones you can get to, which are a lot more powerful. And then lastly, these orange ones, which are really, really strong. So you want to get to them. Lastly, there's these ones, which are dimensional gateways. You spend a point to unlock it, and you can basically go from here all the way over to here, for example, or from here all the way up to here. It will cost you 2 skill points because you have to click that one and that one to connect them. But basically, as you can see here, I can only do the skill points around my chosen node, and I have to continue on from there, for example, and then confirm to buy them. So these gateways let you cross all the way across the board and start buying points over here, for example. Going on from the quest I was showing you, obtain iron, just an iron ingot. There's another wisdom scroll. You can also buy skill points with XP that you have on your character as well, by the way. You don't just have to use wisdom scrolls. The next quest on here is going to be Adventurer's Gear. So basically, Adventurer's Gear is what I would recommend that you start off with. And that is just an iron helmet surrounded by gold. And as you'll see, it grants 10% damage reduction and is really good compared to the wood one you're using or just basic iron. Then, once you get into the Nether, you're going to want to go for Bright Steel. And this may look confusing, but actually Bright Steel is actually just smelted from raw Bright Steel. And it's just iron, gold, glowstone, and Nether Quartz. Meaning, once you get to the Nether, you can start using it. Speaking of the Nether, there is actually these trials here. So once you go through each trial, it's going to increase the damage and strength of the mobs. Number 1 is basically when you start your journey. Number 2, it begins upon entering another dimension, increasing the strength of enemies, but also rewards gained from defeating them. Trial 3 begins when slaying the Ender Dragon, and that's when you can get elite enemies appearing, etc. So do be aware of that. And like I said earlier, the further you go from spawn, the stronger enemies get. One other thing is the champion coins, and these can be spent in the Cisco's Wares section of the quest book. So you'll get those from certain quest rewards, etc. And in your quest book, there's something called Cisco's Wares shop, and you can basically spend those coins in here, which some of which are repeatable, in order to get really cool items, like the Amulet of Vitality, which will give you 10 max health when worn. A lot of these other quests in here will also give you wisdom scrolls. Defeat 15 of these knights, you'll get a wisdom scroll. Kill some zombies and skeletons, you get a wisdom scroll and an iron longsword and a shield. So do make sure you look through the first few quests in every section, just to make sure that you're not missing out, because you don't want to spend anything unnecessarily early game if you don't have to. In a mod pack where you're going to be looting a lot of, well, loot, we need to look at how we're going to store all that options. And I'm also going to be showing you a quick way in how you can actually get all of that loot. One of them is going to be iron chests. Simply put, you can upgrade your basic chest surrounding it with iron into an iron chest, or copper, and then upgrade that copper chest. And that goes all the way. So we've got iron chests being this big, gold chests then being this big, and diamond chests being this big, for example. Any of the mods that I'm showing you in this guide, by the way, go into JEI here and go at, and then put iron chest, for example. And it's going to show, well, this is showing you iron spellbooks and spells, but it will show you anything from that mod, so you can see what else they offer, and that's a great way to explore mods. We also have storage drawers in here, so I could put in things like, you know, loads of iron chests into here, and you can add upgrades to make the storage drawers be able to have more items. But my personal favourite is Tom's Simple Storage mod. What you can see here is 3 different chests. This one has in it apples, this chest has golden apples, and this chest has enchanted golden apples. Now, all I've done here is added these inventory cable connectors, so I could just shift right click it onto the chest here, and then what we do is we add inventory cables behind it like this. And then what you do is you add these cables to an inventory connector, and then add on a storage terminal. Now, what that has done is it means that I can access from the terminal all of the items in all of those chests. And that's a really nice way of linking them all up. And it will work with, for example, your diamond chests, where you can add even more stuff. So I could have loads of diamond chests all linked up with storage inventory cable connectors, cables going into an inventory connector, and a storage terminal. And I've got all of this storage, and I can just store all of this in here, in all these chests, just go into my storage terminal and access it all at once. That is a very simple way of getting a large storage system in an adventure pack like Cisco's Ultimate very easily. But what about when we're on the move? Well, for that, I would recommend sophisticated backpacks. You can make a backpack really easily with a chest, lever, and string, right-click it to open it, and okay, it's just a backpack. But the cool thing is you can, again, upgrade these into, well, different colours, but also into an iron backpack and then a gold backpack, for example. There's also a load of upgrades you can put in here, and the higher the tier of backpack, the more upgrades you can have. Like you can see in the diamond one, it's got a lot of space and it's got a few upgrade slots. Now, I have got a complete video on the sophisticated backpacks mod, so check the description for that. And if you are struggling with this mod pack, or just want some other people to play with who know what they're doing, etc., or you want to meet other like-minded players, don't forget, I have got a Cisco's Ultimate server. You can join that in our Discord. Our Discord link is literally discord.gg/modded Minecraft. And there's a link to that in the description as well. But we do have a Cisco's Ultimate server that you can play on. What else do we have? Okie dokie. That's storage done. What we're going to look at next is really just some ways to make things quicker in your gameplay. So one thing is sleeping, and that actually goes for day and nighttime. A really great way on the move of sleeping is a sleeping bag, and all you need is free wool. They come in different colours. You can literally just place it down and then sleep on it, and that will skip the nighttime into the morning without setting your spawn point, which is fantastic for adventuring. If, however, you want to make it nighttime, then leaving a 1, 2, 3, 4 gap, set up just, trees or whatever you want, get 2 rope and nails, put one here, and then right-click a hammock onto one of the nails, and you get a hammock that will actually let you skip the daytime. So if you want to go out and farm mobs at night, you can actually use a hammock to do that. Takes a little bit more setting up than a sleeping bag, but amazing nonetheless. Then we have iron furnaces. So with these, you can make an iron furnace. And if you look at iron furnaces, what you can see is that it says cook time 160, 120, 80, 40, 20, etc. And you can upgrade these. And basically, these are going to cook things a lot faster. So the iron version is slower than the golden. Golden is slower than diamond. And this is a really great way of getting your food and other things smelted up so much quicker so that you can go back out to adventuring. It's very similar to the iron chests kind of thing. Up here, we have another item that's really useful, and that is the trader from Easy Villagers. Basically, with Easy Villagers, if I get la villager, if I place down a villager, I can shift right-click and pick up the villager. Or just right-click them. There we go. Shift right-click them like that. You've got to be careful, because sometimes it might try and pick them up in front of you, which is the carry-on mod, but you want to try and shift-click them so it goes into your inventory, and then you can literally just place them into here. So you place them into the trader, and then the main reason I'd really use this is for enchants, and then get a lectern, place it in, and then you can see here we have the trades. And all you want to do is just cycle the trades until you get the enchantment book you want, basically, and you can do this forever. And then what you would do is you shift right click, not like that. With the carry-on mod, it makes it a bit difficult, but basically you can take out the trader, and you can then put him in a different one, or throw him away once you've got the enchants you want. Another thing you can do is a breeder. So what I would do is just put 2 villagers in here, and then if we right-click into the breeder, you can see you put in food, like apples or wheat or whatever they eat, and it'll output baby villagers. Then if we go at Easy Villagers, there's a few other items. There's a farmer, an auto trader, there's a the incubator, so this will speed up the process of baby villagers into adult villagers, and you can then just put them in to your traders with your lecterns, and then obviously you can just get different, you can keep different villagers for different enchantments. Like if I broke this one, I can pick up the villager, and you could just rename it in an anvil for the enchantment that that one has. So if you've got sharpness 5, you could put that villager in a chest and get him back out and put him in the trader later to get your enchantment 5 book again. And that's a way of getting loads of enchantments quite early game. Remember, all you'd have to do is right-click the villager and pick them up and shove them in here. There's an iron farm. You just simply put in the villager, the golem, in here, and you get an iron farm with the golem, unlimited iron. Very easy to get there as well. Getting around, we have waystones. So waystones are quite easy to make, as you can see. Just a bit of stone, obsidian, and a warp stone, which does need some amethyst and ender pearls, but it's not incredibly late game, obviously, we're getting those items. And what that can do is, I've placed one here and I've placed one here. I right-click on it. I say, take me to home 2, which is here. So I can place down the waystone, call it, and then I can go in here and teleport to my other waystones, and you've got a teleportation network. It will cost experience to go between them. I'm in creative, so obviously it's not costing me experience. The further away your waystone is from each other, the more experience it will cost to teleport. Now, speaking of villagers and getting around, one thing you're going to want to find is villages. And that is because we want to find these kind of chests here. Now, these are barrel versions, and they're called looter barrels. So in villages, you get these looter barrels. And the cool thing about looter is, with these golden barrels or chests, is every player that opens them, it's unique to them. So I've just opened it, and I've got in here a gem that I can put in my armor. I've got a jellyfish necklace, and I've got a magnetic ring, which attracts items within 8-block radius, and this can be disabled by holding shift. Isn't that amazing? So already I've got a really cool item that is useful to me just from that one. If a different person on my server was to open this barrel, they'd all get their own loot, and this loot in here is unique to me. So you don't have to worry about anyone stealing your loot. This one, however, this boss creature is protecting from me opening. But this one isn't. And in here we've got some cool leggings here that add some maximum mana and things like that. A diamond horse armor. which you could use in a salvaging table. So a salvaging table from Apotheosis is really useful. Apotheosis is a really, really useful mod. I'd recommend looking up my complete tutorial to Apotheosis. It's a very complicated mod. Just search my channel for Apotheosis and you'll get that. But for example, we can use a salvaging table because you might not be using diamond horse armor, but we can get some diamonds back from it in the salvaging table in order to actually get diamonds and use that ourselves later. Iron gloves, when you put this in your curio slot, you get some attack damage, etc. Again, very cool loot that you can get in these looter chests. And villages, which are often very friendly, will have loads of these looter chests, so you can get a ton of insane gear in your chests in villages. But don't forget, the further you go from spawn, the more difficult mobs will get. So when you're looking for those villages, just keep an eye out on how far you're going. I'd also recommend pressing M to see your map. I've only really explored here, but the map, as you can see, shows me a village right over here. So as you're exploring, always check your map. You can see kind of waypoints and things on it. Like I could go, oh, what's that over here? 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 And it's a really great way of just being, or look, there's a ship on the map that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. So it's a great way of just looking and finding points of interest without having to sort of look around for it manually. That can be really helpful as well. If you're not sure where to go in this pack, I would look at the story chapter. So Cisco's Fate, this basically takes you up to Cisco's trial and the advancements, etc. These are the final bosses here that you want to go through. So I'd go through these. Same in the... Is it Ashes of Allegiance? Oh, here we go. This is the one I'm looking for. Oh, God, where's it gone? The Deus Interfectorum. This is basically the boss guide. Have I already mentioned this? You start off with doing these bosses. Go up to here, go up to here, and you go through these bosses up to here, go through to here. And this is basically the kind of progression you want to take through the main bosses in the mod pack. Everything else is pretty much covered off in the quests on the side. What I would recommend doing, if there is a mod in here that you're not sure about, just search my channel. Most of the mods in here, like Apotheosis, storage drawers, all of that, I have full ultimate guides for all of these mods that are in this mod pack, separate to this beginner guide. So I would recommend checking those out on there. But that's pretty much it, guys. That is how you are going to be setting up and getting going as a beginner in Cisco's Ultimate. If you want to get your own server to play on, check out the link in my description for 10% off with G-Portal. And if you want to play with some other players, I actually run a very high-end server in the Discord. Just join and we can get you set up playing on there with us and my community.